Good evening everybody and welcome to round 15 of 18 of the GPVWC Formula Challenge. We're here today from the Indianapolis circuit in America. My name's Jenkins and alongside me to call the action is Mr. Lee Morris. And Lee, we've got just a few rounds left in this series now, and it's been a bit of a strange session this one. We've seen a bit of rain coming down in qualifying, seemingly dry now, but with this circuit and rain coming down as well, this could be one of the most unpredictable races of the season.
Yeah, firstly, good evening everybody. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I watched pretty much all the qualifying session, and it was certainly unexpected. I've done quite a bit of laps today myself in both the Formula Challenge and the Super League, and it's not rained once, so to see that, it must have been a big surprise for the drivers as well.
Yeah, well indeed, so drivers going to have to be prepared the best they possibly can. Hopefully have some setup safe just in case it does rain. So now, final minute and a half of warm-up, then everyone is trying to get their setups in before the race, make sure they're comfortable with the launches of the car, make sure they've got enough fuel in there. That could be an issue. And more importantly, we still don't know until the race session ticks over if it's going to rain or no, so they're kind of in a bit of limbo at the moment as to what setup they're going to load. So is it an idea to familiarise yourself with the dry setup, or do you just want to try and wait it out and see what happens?
Well, from what I saw in the qualifying, I'd say most of the drivers were still on the dry setups. Maybe a slight wing change, something like that, but the setup doesn't drastically change that much. Plus it wasn't really that wet, it was only, say, 10% wet track. So I think most of the drivers will stick with a dry setting. If you risk a wet setup, you're going to be so slow in a straight line down here, and this track is all about straight line speed, so I think most drivers will just stick with what they've got and just see what happens, basically, play it by ear.
Yeah, it definitely is. We've got a couple of driver changes as well today. We've got Jonathan Ockerclint is stepping in for Wupke Hoekstra. Due to Wupke having some, we believe, some work issues or something like that. So he'll be piloting the Optimum Sim Racing team hit car today here at Indianapolis. A little bit of track time. And as Lee said, this track is all about straight line speed. And for Dave Fiddick, could be a real opportunity for him now if he's behind Gagzella at one point during the race. Get himself in front, get himself in the slipstream. Because potentially today, Gagzella could seal up this championship.
Yep, he could indeed. Obviously, Fiddick's not pulled that many points back in the last few races, let's say, and he's behind him on the grid again today. He was only half a tenth off in qualifying though, so it's going to be a close race. I think Simoncic, Fiddick and Gagzella are all covered by 1/10 in qualifying, and it was fourth place was a whole second behind, and that was Florian Gaia. Obviously we'll run through the full grid in a second, but it was basically the top three, and after that it was anyone's.
If you remember, a couple of races go back to Mandikura as well, as Jonas Simoncic made a very impressive debut for Edenis Engineering. He'll be looking for much of the same today. Showed a bit of pace there in warm-up, and as we go into the race now, and let's wait for the session to tick over, we'll quickly run down the full grid for you as we'll go on the formation lap.
Indeed, I think this session is just about to advance to the race session. Fastest in the warm-up was Sven de Vries on a 19.6 on a bone dry circuit, so pretty cool. We've got Cantonen as well, obviously. I don't think he qualified too well.
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
It looks like Gagzella's also got some sort of grid penalty because he's actually 6th on the grid. So he must have had a 5-place grid penalty, not quite sure what for. I haven't seen the forums, but that's a blow for him in some respects. But Cantonen was only 15th fastest in qualifying, so he's got some work to do.
Indeed, so it's going to be Simoncic keeps on impressing. He sits on the pole position spot here today. He's got Dave Fiddick alongside him again. Big opportunity now for Dave if he wants to stay alive in this championship. At first, it wasn't really plausible that Fiddick could come out champion here. He entered a bit late into the series, but there is a very slim possibility it could happen. So we need every bit of luck today to get himself on that front spot. So it's going to be Florian Gaia that starts in 3rd place, Sven de Vries 4th, Adrian McNaughton starts in front of his teammate Emmanuel Gagzella in P5. We've got Paul Joseph P7, James Kirk impressive there in 8th position, Larry Neiman in 9th, and James Johnson rounds out your top 10.
Yep, in 11th position we have Dewey Tapper, Martin Parker 12th, Chris Butcher 13th, Mikko Jackonen is in 14th, and the surprise of the session, Oskari Cantonen in 15th, usually up front. Fran Lopez did a good job in 16th position, Hansko Mebius in the Smarty car in 17th, Matt Richards 18th, Thomas Jacobs and Cameron Brewster around at the top 20.
Yeah, and just quickly before we finish off the rest of the order, we've got some updates on the penalties. Emmanuel Gagzella's penalty was for avoidable contact during the second race last time, lap 1, turn 1, and that gives him a 5-place grid penalty. Fran Lopez also got a penalty for some avoidable contact, as did Ollie Woods and Riku Sarpia. So those are the drivers here that are suffering from those grid penalties, and the ones that could really be a little bit out of joint here today, but the sky is looking a bit bluer, so the drivers may get themselves round nice and cleanly, well, we should hope. So just outside the top 20 then, we've got Red Ted for Positive Sim Racing, Scott Beresford in 22nd, Mike Bell 23rd, Lewis McGlade in 24th, just in front of Mike Schroeter and his teammate Franklin Staging there. Ben Warren sits in 27th for Simming. We've got a car off the track there. We'll try and find out who that is. I think he's just rejoined. Chris Williamson 28th, Simon Smith living up to the backmarker brigade name there in 29 in front of Javier de Carvalho, James Wilson and Perry Wink. Then we've got Jonathan Lockley-Clinton just behind there, who's filling in for Herkstra, Francisco Maldonado and Ron Squire, with Scott Cervic rounding out your field. Oh, we just got that there. We got Theo van der Brink and Lewis Redshaw, who's of course doing our cameras today, so big shout out to Lewis there. So as the field come round the final couple of corners and back onto the oval section of the circuit, Simoncic looking in a good position. He would love to get himself a victory here today, closing stages of the season. How much of an impact has this man made on the championship so far in the few races he's been here?
Well, obviously we know he's talented in other leagues, so on pole today he's going to have a good chance to win. He's been very quick throughout the practices, the qualifyings obviously. One man I just wanted to point out was 22nd position Scott Beresford. Obviously last time out he was up in the top 6, so I think we've got to look for him to come through. And also you mentioned Ben Warren for Simming. He's got to do a good job to come through as well, obviously for the championship, the Constructors' Championship. The grid's just starting to form up now. It's a very short lap here, so I think we're going to see a lot of traffic today playing a part in this race. And let's just hope they get off the line well. Still a long time. Still a long time till a few cars come to the line and Squire's in the wall apparently.
Yeah, we just noticed at the very back of the field, and there's a couple of cars that appear to have missed their grid slots there. They're just getting in there now. So Squire, a bit of a mishap at the last turn, as now we await the arrival of the red lights. And we've got 3, we've got 4. The reds start to rise as to the blood pressure of the drivers, as they're about to go racing. A good start there for the Simoncic on the run down to turn 1, trying to cover his line. Watch out for the smarter car immediate, doing everything he can there.
Huge crash off the line of the back, sorry. Cars off the back to Mike Bell off with no wheels, Asa Klim off with no wheels, Sovic's off with no wheels. That's 3 cars out straight away, so into turn 1.
Right, Sven de Vries, sorry, the smarter car pilot these days, but it's going to be Dave Fiddick just barely holding on to P2. De Vries trying to take it for him on the inside, though. It's been a nice run. He'll maintain momentum as they go through the next corners. Now Fiddick onto the inside line. He's played that very nicely. It also helps that De Vries goes wide as the field clear their way around the next couple of corners, and it's looking a fairly average start. Not too much in the way of many crashes, but there's a couple of cars off in the very background.
Yeah, there's quite a big crash on the start line, but it was all at the back, so it wasn't too bad. It didn't affect the leaders too much. As Excella goes around the outside of Gaia into the hairpin, he's going to be on the inside now, which is a great move there. Block passes him, brilliant move by Excella. He's coming through. He can. Is that De Vries? De Vries has lagged out, I think, or something. He's just disappeared off the circuit, so that puts Excella up into 3rd already, and he's got his championship rival just in front of him.
Yes, indeed, it's going to be a big race here for Excella. We know what he has to do. There isn't a lot of pressure. We still have quite a big deficit back to David Fiddick, but he would love to seal this championship up nice and early. We'll see what he can do though as time wears on. But right now though, the drivers are coming towards the end of their first lap of the race. You can already see the pressure that Simoncic has kind of pulled away from Fiddick. There's a second between the two at the moment. Excella already up to third, Gaia P4, but Norton trying to offer support there in 5. But look at that, it's a 3-way battle there. That was James Johnson, Matt Richards, and that was also Tony Tapper there trying to get involved. And he's trying to go round the outside. It's a bit of a risk through there. He's got Johnson in front, so he's got to be very careful about where he places his car. And I think he's just about sealed that one off. He has, so very nice driving there from Tapper. James Johnson next on his hit list.
Indeed, just behind that as well, De Vries did come back on. He must have had a momentary lagging connection or something, because he's actually in 10th position, so he went from 3rd to 10th there with that, which is a big shame for him. Hopefully he'll have no more issues to the end of the race, but he's going to be gutted with that as Tapper gets it sideways and loses a position there to actual James Johnson, who was in position.
Yeah, Ben Warren making progress as well, up to P21 now after his start. He should be clipped by Simon Smith, and they both maintain control of their cars. Simon Smith has also made a bit of progress there, but almost that could have gone very much pear-shaped. He's just about clung onto it. He's got himself in front of Lewis McGlade there, and a couple of cars behind. Ron Squire still in the race. Squire Motorsports down in P28 at the moment. We can take a look back towards the very front as they cross the end for lap number 2, and look at Dave Fiddick down as they start number 3. Fiddick going up the inside of turn 1. It should be A very practical manoeuvre indeed. He's got the move done. Yeah, there was no fight at all there from Jono Simoncic. He's just going to try and wait it out until they get to that back straight again.
Yeah, I don't understand. Simoncic was looking very strong early on. He must have had a mistake in that lap or something, which we didn't see because Fiddick was like 1 second faster than him. And you wouldn't expect that because they were very close in qualifying. But one man I'm surprised at is Cantone, and he's stuck down in 18th position. He's actually gone backwards, and he looks unsure. I wonder if he's had some issues or something, because he doesn't look like the Cantone that we've seen of recent.
No, definitely not, and more importantly, Fran Lopez is all over that rear end. He's going to try as well up the inside. He's hit it, and that was a very close call, because I think that may have been Bretes. He's gone off. It was Bretes. He's gone off for positive sim racing. Their race not so positive anymore. And if he just made that move a little bit more, just the tiniest millimetre to the right, that would have been certain front-to-front contact. So very lucky there that nothing too abrupt came of that. Dewey Tapper, though, still on the back of James Johnson as they come back onto the oval section again. The short banking before the main straight. And it's in a chance to up the inside. James Johnson, though, will either get the slipstream as he ducks back underneath and should be able to retake it back into turn number 1. Let's see if he can do just that.
He pulls out the slipstream, but look at that Tapper. He's got a big slipstream from in front. That's James Kirk, so he's actually getting a double toe in some respects as Johnson. But when he pulls out the slipstream, he loses it. Will he have a lunge? No, as Tapper's very late on the break. He's lost. Yeah, he locked the rear up. And I found that I did actually drive these cars today, and the thing that I struggle with the most was the braking. And the cars really do slide. Some on the back markers off there on the grass, but the cars do really lock the rears up quite a lot, and it makes the car hard to control the braking. And that was a perfect example of it. But James Kirk in 6th position, as you mentioned in qualifying, did a good job. He's doing a great job in the race.
On a gamepad as well at a track like this, you said braking can be an issue. Imagine what James Kirk has to be going through on a pad right now, doing a very steady job at the moment in P6. He's got Tapper now just behind him. We'll be looking to try and Snapchat from him sooner rather than later. Let's keep an eye back at our leaders though. They're still only separated by half a second, and now they're starting to encounter some traffic. Just as you said, very short lap time here means that traffic will be an issue, and I think they're just about to find out how much of an issue it's going to be.
Well, they're going to get by, who is that? That's Wilson, pretty safe, I think, because it's a straight line, as long as Wilson doesn't do anything stupid. He looks a bit unsure though, doesn't he, Wilson? I think he's on a pad or a keyboard or something there, he needs to be careful. But he's let the leaders by pretty safely. Gaxella should be able to come through as well, safely just behind, as Wilson goes to the inside. Yeah, that's good driving from Wilson there. Very nice and safe. But the leaders, pretty much lapping identical lap times, as we saw in qualifying. And they pulled a 4-second gap to Gaia in 4th position. It's pretty much as qualifying, as Tapper's coming down the inside of Kirk into turn 1. Tapper on the inside, can he brake later? And he does, very late there, Tapper. We saw that last time round, he was able to brake very late, and he takes that position with ease. Can Kirk retaliate? Kirk tries to put up some sort of fight, but Tapper's got the line covered, and that's pretty much game set match there. Dewey Tapper into 7th position.
Yeah, not really much Kirk to do, unfortunately, though, as they now try and gain some time on the other simming driver, or Storm Racing, I beg your pardon, of Adrian McNaughton, who's also encountering how difficult lapping traffic can be, as Wilson almost slides underneath, and it's going to be a very difficult position for Wilson. He's got to be very much now trying to move out of the way of everyone else, as opposed to trying to get himself back in contention of at least a couple of positions. And that's unfortunately the consequence of looking that slow. But look at the train there, and it's all got wrong, and Kirk's off. And he's got it going again, but look at the amount of time he's lost. He's just inside the top 10. Paul Joseph now fancies a chance. And was that due to Wilson or no? Wilson struggling to let cars through, it seems, as James Johnson has a lunge on up the inside.
Now Wilson was further down the road from Kirk. Kirk lost it completely in his own in the braking zone. It is very difficult into there, I found out as well myself. But Wilson he's pretty in the straight. He's not too bad, but in the corners he's finding it difficult to get out of the way. I mean, there, look at that with Nyman, and he's moving all over the place. And Wilson needs to be careful here, because I think he could cause some problems if he's not too careful.
Yeah, he will indeed. Back at the very front of the field then as they start lap number 6. We've got a big gap there from Dave Fidicker, 120.036, a 119.9, however, though, from Jono Simoncic. And now look, he's joining the fun. And Manuel Gaxella, it's not that far adrift at all. He did a 119.7 last time round. His last laps, however, been a 119.5, a 119.5, a 119.6 and a 119.7. Gaxella is consistently lapping quicker than our race leader, and that is not what Fiddick needs if he wants to somehow stay in his championship. Everyone loves an underdog, but this is a massive task indeed for Fiddick. Right now, I think he should try and go for constructors more than anything. Gaxella, however, wants to seal the deal in the best way possible with the race win.
Yeah, the thing that surprises me is, well, not surprising, it's the same thing that happened the week before, wasn't it? Fiddick was able to get off early, and all of a sudden he just seems to drop off the pace. So maybe he's going to a slightly different way with the setup or something. and obviously then his tyres wear off quicker than everyone else's, and he might be quick early on or something like that. But like you say, Gazzella looking very strong and very quick in a straight line as well, because look at Gazzella in third position, closing right up to the back of Simičić. Simičić feels he needs to go defensive. Will he stick to the middle or will he stick to the inside? He's got the toe from Fiddick as well, and that's worked quite nicely. I don't think Gazzella will make anything of this. Very late on the brakes as well, Gazzella, that's something to point out. Gazzella looks very good on the braking as well, so if he does get a sniff of a chance of taking that position, he'll be straight up the inside and he can brake later as well.
Indeed, Simičić is in possibly the most unenviable position right now. He's got a choice of whether to attack or defend. Tiniest error, we'll see Gazzella sail past him. He knows that. Simičić has to use these couple of years of racing experience back at FSR to get himself in here today. He's learned what Gazzella can do. He knows what Fiddick can do over the past 3 races or so, and now he's going to try and work out for himself. It's Fiddick, I think, must have gone over the anti-cuts or something. He ran a bit too wide coming down the straight. Whether that was intentional or no, we're yet to see. But right now, Gazzella is going to be thinking of surely, while going for a manoeuvre right now, he knows he's quicker down that back straight, as we said. We know Simičić doesn't really have the pace at the moment to capitalise on a Fiddick error. Let's see if Gazzella can be the catalyst in this battle. Simičić has gone wide, that could be the one he needs. Oh, look, that was effortless, straight up the inside. So now Simičić has a chance to counter-attack as they come back onto the straightaway. Into turn 1 will be his next opportunity. He needs to pull alongside, but Gazzella's pace surely going to be too great here. Look at that already, he's pulling away just a little bit. Fiddick has a bit of a breather up front, but I think Gazzella should be able to fend this one off.
Yeah, tremendous top speed from Gazzella. Like you say, he hasn't got a slipstream and he's still pulling away. So Simičić can't come back on the straights, but this is what Gazzella wants. Obviously he wants to get after Fiddick now, and maybe today we'll see the proper battle we've been waiting for first position between the 2 championship protagonists, because last time we had a battle it was for about 5th or 6th position. It wasn't exactly for the top positions, if I recall correctly. Simičić involved in this isn't really in the championship fight. He's just there making it a better show for us, because it's supposed to be 3 drivers up front as opposed to 2. Oh, and he's coming back at I think Simičić running more downforce for sure, because it's very competitive for the midfield. On the straight he loses out a bit too much, and there's something else I wanted to point out a second ago, and I can't quite remember what it was. It was someone down the order. Cantonen's got issues or something, because he's in 12th position. He's made a bit of ground up. He's not lapping very quickly at all, so maybe he's not really with it today or something.
Yeah, let's take a look at the battle of further behind the leaders now, and that is Florian Gaia battling away with Adrian McNaughton. So both Storm drivers on an assault charge right now. Let's see what McNaughton can do as they come again into those final couple of corners. We've got Ari Neiman in there, P8 in a nice little race there for Kajala, one of the main protagonists at the start of the season, who unfortunately kind of faded out of the championship picture. Now finds himself in 8th position, just behind James Johnson in the Mazur 8 Racing team.
Well, McNaughton and Gaia are side by side coming across the start-finish line. I think this happened last time round, but I think Gaia outbraked him in turn 1. McNaughton's trying to cover that off. Gaia goes straight back on the inside again, and Gaia is very late on the brakes. And that happened, that was exactly, and McNaughton taps him up the rear. That's not going to help either of them. Slightly naughty there from McNaughton, he should have seen that one coming. But Gaia very late on the brakes and doing a great job defending 4th. It was basically a repeat of the lap before, which we didn't see. But look at Gazzella, he's took another half second out of Fiddick, and he's right on the back of him. And I guarantee by the end of this lap he's going to be in a passing position, because we know he's got the straight line speed. Simičić is coming back at him and he's following him as well. But I think by the end of this lap we could see Gazzella in a position to possibly overtake down the main straight if he gets a good run through this hairpin. And he's got a good apex there as well into the hairpin, so let's see now. Will he close up? He does.
Oh, and a big spin there from Tom Jacobs down in P17. He was just to the back of the Butcher Brigade. There are about 4 or 5 cars lined up behind Chris Butcher. And unfortunately, I think he just got a bit too late into one of the corners. There's a tiny bit of contact, and he's spun round. He's now in front of his teammate there. But the Brigade continues. Mebius has passed him, and no, Butcher doesn't want to let him go. Just behind him, of course, is Paul Joseph in the Royal Blue. And it looks like that train's finally fizzled out, but there are 4 or 5 cars squabbling for position. Now, it's going to be one that...
Look at Gazzella, he's got the run. Like I said, he's got the run coming into turn 1. He has the pace, check speed. Fiddick goes to the inside to defend. Gazzella tries to switch back. Very late from Gazzella, he's going to go around the outside. No, he's run wide. He's ruined it. He's ruined the corner, and Simičić gets the run back, and they're very lucky not to collide there. Mistake there from Gazzella, one of the very few mistakes we do see him make.
It is indeed, and let's see if we can make him too many more, but Simičić is surely going to be feeling the advantage after that one. The momentum swinging very much so in his corner. Tries to come back against him right now, goes a bit wide through there to try and get the cutback. I think he just maybe missed the apex instead. A bit further down the field there, we've still got that battle with Hansko Mebius and Chris Butcher. Mebius just getting the better at the moment. Ben Warren catching him quite quickly up to P17 Ben Warren, so I believe that's a 10th position gain since the start of the race.
Yes, he's done a good job coming through the field. The one man who's going to be receiving is Sven de Vries down in 27th position. He has a lot of issues, obviously, through this race. He's not made any progress, unfortunately, from his early race issues. He was looking like he had the pace to be up front with the front runners. One man who's looking pretty good as well lately is Dewey Tapper in 6th. He's close up to the battle for 5th and 4th between Geyer and McNaughton. McNaughton now takes over that 4th position, but Tapper looking like he's got better pace than both of them. Gaxella this time round is not as close to Fiddick, although he's still picking up the draft slowly but surely. I don't think he'd be close enough for turn 1 though. I don't think Fiddick needs to think about going defensive this time round. We saw Fiddick was pretty good on the brakes as well, and there you can see it's pretty much equal on the brakes.
Nice battle there for P9 as well with Matt Richards and Martin Palm. They've exchanged positions going down the straight. Now Richards on the offensive, Palm reluctant to move away from the inside line. And Richards forced a long way around, still makes it stick though. If he does now break himself, oh, he's made that look absolutely perfect through there. And now it's going to be down to Martin Palm to try and come back at him once again. And Palm's been very good this season, I think. He's showing very nice glimpses of talent. We'll see what he can do here today, and at least on the first race for the second as well. He tries to put a move on Matt Richards. Taking a look back at what the leaders are doing once again, it's Fiddick who leads that charge. Gaxella's still not able to get the money quite needs on him at this stage. He's doing everything he can, but somewhat limited. Fiddick doing a nice job at defending, but the worst part for David, we're only just over 50% into this race, so he's still quite a long way to go to keep that race lead, and we've got to be sure that Gaxella is going to be doing everything in his power right now to take that position from him.
I'm back now, but come back just at the right time. Gaxella looking down the outside again. We saw this before. Gaxella seems better on the brakes slightly, but look at that, pretty much identical to turn 1. And Simoncic's just in the background looking to pick up the pieces. And Tapper's taken 4th position.
Indeed, he has to do it. Tapper's on a charge right now, and look at that, Simoncic getting involved. Gaxella charging through the inside, and they're almost 3 wide, and this poor old Dave Fiddick has lost out to both of them. Simoncic now on a charge against Gaxella trying to go to the inside. He's hit Dave Fiddick, and our race leader that was 3 corners to go is now down to 3rd and in a gravel trap.
That's a disaster, absolute disaster for Fiddick, and he's going to have to put up with Tapper now, who's been lapping very fast as well, and McNaughton just behind, so disaster for Fiddick, total disaster.
I think that fault's got to be on Emmanuel Gaxella though. He just went way too deep, and didn't help that he had Simoncic right tucked up behind him, and now they're trying to get past traffic. Tensions are running high. Gaxella wants to end this race with a win and secure the championship, and I think right now there's not really going to be anyone else to stop him except for German Simoncic, who unfortunately has dropped back quite a bit since the incident. A bit further back though, where has Dave Fiddick ended up? He's still P3 back of him, and wouldn't Tapper love to get himself another podium here today? See what he can do then as they come down the final straight to complete that number 8. Can he come down here around the outside? Fiddick does not want to surrender another spot. They're almost touching wheels there as they enter turn number 1. Round the outside will go Tapper. Fiddick's trying to defend the inside line. Does so with success, and Tapper's still left scratching his head for the moment.
Yeah, Tapper's got the run off the corner though. Will he launch it down the inside like Gaxella did? He will, but it was only a half-hearted attempt there.
Yeah, it was indeed. Don't forget Adrian McNaughton there as well. So whatever Fiddick can do, it seems he can't actually escape the threat of a racing car right now. Storm looking at 2 cars in the top 5, so good for their constructors. At the moment, it's still only Dave Fiddick that's inside the main points for the Simic team. Their other driver, Ben Warren, down to P19. He's lost a couple of positions since we've last checked up on him, now behind both of the United. So we'll see what he can do with those guys a bit later on. He's currently trying to attack Cameron. He's not that far adrift. But as the race wears on, we'll have to wait and see if he can get himself up towards the top 15 position. Bit of a train there still behind Chris Butcher. We've got Mebius is there, Franz Lopez is there. We've got Paul Joseph tucked up again now. So the Butcher Brigade continues to accumulate some more cars as they snake their way through that tight and twisty section.
Yeah, and Tapper's got the run again, coming down after the main straight, off the banking. Tapper's on the outside, he's got slightly better top speed, he doesn't need the slipstream, and they're side by side, almost touching wheels there. That's very dangerous for both, and they do make contact there. Fiddick down the inside, will he brake later? He does, he brakes later, but Tapper's on the outside, and Tapper takes the position for now. But can he hold on to it? Simoncic, surprisingly, is sticking with Gaxella as well.
It really is not showing him any signs at all, is he, of letting up as Fiddick tries to get the counter-attack going. He can't quite get it just yet. but Simoncic not really letting up any steam. He wants to try and push for this victory, and who can blame him? Only a few rounds of this championship to go. Make an impact, get yourself known around the community, and maybe, who knows, you might end up with a drive in a higher up division next year. But right now, Dave Fiddick's only concern is damage limitation. He sees the storm there.
But look at McNaughton. Yeah, McNaughton's got the run as well. Fiddick goes defensive and also takes the position in one go. Tapper will have the inside. No, Fiddick cuts him off pretty well there, but McNaughton nearly took both cars then. And they all three of them make contact with the hairpin. And Johnson's come onto the back of this as well now.
And it's not what Fiddick needs. As we say, damage limitation. He's in a constructors fight with Storm. He cannot let both cars finish in front of him, knowing his teammate is just outside the big points at the moment. Fiddick needs every point he can muster up, and if that means just holding on to third for as long as he can, then so be it. Tapper there looking to change that. Simoncic is on the charge though, 3 tenths away, passes Tapper the race. Here comes Tapper around the outside and drag race to the first corner again. And again it's Tapper on the outside. Again it's Fiddick defending. And just behind there you can see McNaughton under pressure. Good news for Fiddick if he can make it stick. Tapper's on the inside and he may have just got enough. Fiddick's still fighting though. He won't let it up. He knows he's on the inside for the next corner. And he should just about hold it. Where has McNaughton gone? The answer is behind Paul Joseph. He's lost a lot of time. What's that contact? I think there may have been, because now Florian Gaia, the multi-21, fancies his chances as the Storm driver.
Simoncic lining up Gaxella as well. He wants this win. Obviously, we thought Gaxella would have pulled away. Well, I thought Gaxella would have pulled away at least. But at this moment in time, Simoncic's sticking right with him, and he's going to make the move. And Tapper's looking on the inside of Fiddick, but no, can't make the move. Very close still, though, between all of them. I mean, we've got battles throughout the field. It's hard to choose which ones to watch.
Yeah, so an update on Adrian McNaughton. He did have a Haas turn number 1, and unfortunately for him, he's still in P6, but he's kind of lost the back of James Johnson now, who has made a very good impression today. It's going to be said for the Missouri racing team. Going from the world of touring car racing, now trying to get onto the back of Dewey Tapper. Potentially has a shot at a podium here. He's only got a few laps to go, but not exactly writing off just yet. Tapper lost a little bit of time there on Dave Fiddick. He won't get the run down into turn 1. Simoncic, however, all over the back of Gaxella, and you can feel the tension rising. They'll cross the line in a moment, with just 2 laps to go when they hit the finish line, so they'll start the penultimate lap. But Simoncic running out of time, he's running out of corners. That's the beauty of this Indianapolis circuit. It's so difficult to make a move stick round here, and right now Simoncic is scratching his head. He's got to think outside the box. If you want to pass a man who's leading the championship by a bigger margin as he is, he's got to really do something quite impressive. Let's see what he can muster up.
Well, if he's going to do it, he's going to do it somewhere in this section here, because this is where Simoncic's car's set up for, and that's the middle sector. You can see that he gains so much for this middle sector. But I think mentioning James Johnson on the podium, that's a pretty good shout, because his lap times are actually a lot faster than the 2 in front of him, and with them 2 battling, it's only going to help him.
Well, indeed, quick check back on those 2 as we speak. It's still Tapper on the inside. Well, look how close he is. He actually locked the rear left, I believe, there, as he tries to attack Dave Fiddick, who's still defending with everything he's got from Tapper. He made a very, very stern impression.
Oh, he's got
his debut. Fiddick's gone wide and has allowed Tapper through. And there's nothing Fiddick can do there except hope for the best. And then he can get back in the slipstream. He's done just that. And James Johnson's got the perfect view right now. He'll be sipping out of a Coca-Cola can, eating a bag of popcorn. He's loving life. Watching these 2 do battle as Fiddick goes back up the inside once again into turn 1. Still Gaxella leads, but all eyes are on this fight right now as we start the penultimate lap. Dave Fiddick on the inside, Tapper trying to sweep it round again on the outside of turn 1. And again, he fails. Fiddick stuck. He just got that lined up so perfectly. He knows Tapper's going around the outside. He knows he can position his car right. But James Johnson is getting closer and closer as the laps go on.
Simoncic and Gaxella side by side. Simoncic went for the move, Gaxella left in the room, not wanting to risk anything obviously. Simoncic's got to run off the corner, but Gaxella's got top end speed. If Simoncic can put it around the outside, he will have the inside for the next corner. Let's see what he decides to do, and he has done that. He has done it. He will have the inside now for the next corner, just as I said, and he takes the lead. Simoncic goes into lead, but this is key now. This is key for Simoncic. He's got to get a perfect exit from these next 2 corners, because we know how quick Gaxella is in a straight line, and he's got a good exit, but Gaxella's still right with him. I expect to see Gaxella leading before we get to the start-finish line again. There we go, straight back through.
Straight up the inside, and Simoncic has to duck back underneath once again. Let's see what he can muster up through turn 1. He's going to be doing just about enough, but we know Gaxella's raw pace here, especially when it's in a straight line. Simoncic just has to pray that slipstream pays off.
He's closer than he was before. This is better for Simoncic. If he can pass him now, he's got a chance. If he can do it now, he's got the chance, because if he passes him in the last sector, Gaxella will just
Oh, look at
stream
this,
by.
just behind. Sorry to interrupt you. There's 3 wide almost into turn 1. Johnson in the middle, Tapper on the right-hand side, and Finnick defending on the left. Now all somehow come out unscathed. But Tapper's got, he spun! And Dewey Tapper made contact, and he spun the car. And just look at the amount of positions he's losing from 4th to 8th place. And James Johnson is 1 step closer to a podium.
Yeah, there's been some contact between Simichik and Gaxella as well. Gaxella may get penalised for what he's just done. He's just pulled straight across on Simichik. Simichik wasn't happy and gave him a love tap at the rear to say that was wrong, that was naughty. And Simichik trying everything down the inside, launches down the inside. This is unbelievable. The final lap, can Simichik do anything about it? He was in front, and now he's behind again, but he's got the run off the corner. Will he get the run off this corner? There's a back mark in the way. Will he block Gaxella? No, he doesn't, but I think Gaxella's got this now. But if I was Simichik, I wouldn't be very happy with that. And Johnson has got through into the podium.
Yeah, so for once I've actually nailed a prediction. Would you look at that? As you can see, it's going to be surely Emmanuel Gaxella that, under quite controversial circumstances, there could be a penalty or 2 coming his way afterwards.
This is close. Look at this. The side by side across the line. Gaxella just gets it. A awesome race, and Johnson will get the podium.
He will indeed. So Gaxella wins another race. I'm not sure if it will stand afterwards. I think there may be a penalty or 2 coming his way. Finnick crosses the line in 4th and trashes his car. He's not happy with that. We believe he got held up. The Norton crosses in P5. Florian Guy 6th, 7th, Larry Neiman, and 8th place Dewey Tapper. 9th place Martin Palm, good result there. Oscari Cantona made progress in the end in front of Paul Joseph and Tom Jacobs. He's followed across the line by his teammate Cameron Brewster. Matt Richards P14. The Butcher Brigade comes to an end. Chris ends in P15. Mimi is 16th. 17th Mikko Jakinen. And 19th is Ben Warren. So a little bit of a gain in the end there for him. Scott Beresford couldn't push his way through the field as he did last time. He ends in P19 with Lewis McGlade rounding out your top 20.
Yeah, I've just watched the move back from Simichik and Gaxella, and Simichik was probably a quarter of a car alongside, and then Gaxella just turned into him and blocked him completely. So I'm not too sure that Gaxella was as gentlemanly as he could have been there, but still an awesome race between the two. Well, awesome race for the top 5 basically.
Yeah, it truly was, and we'll see if we can hear from a couple of these drivers in a few moments' time if they hop into the interview booth. And we'll look forward to race number 2 now, and surely the only thing which can make this any more exciting is if a spot of rain starts to hit the circuit when the race starts.
Yeah, I've had a message from Asa Klimpf as well, Jonathan Asa Klimpf, who says at the start I had a good start and the cars ahead were so slow. So I went and left it there with the start. So I left and the cars were stationary. I don't know who it was, but I didn't have time to react and slammed into his rear. That's what the big accident was in the background we saw. He said he tried to get it back to the pits, but the engine died at the first corner. Scott Silvic had a frame freeze, like coming down the back straight, and crashed because of it. So that's just a little update from Jonathan there, so thank you for your input.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Jonathan, a very interesting race there. We'll see what he can do in race number 2 as we switch over to the warm down session, as I like to call it, a chance for the drivers to gather their thoughts and just recap on what's happened in race number 1. And I'm sure for a couple of these drivers, Finnick and Jerno Simichich included, their thoughts may not be as happy as some of the other drivers on the field today. And you've got to think, though, Lou, that there has to be a penalty or 2 coming to Gagzella's way.
I don't know if you saw it, Liam. Did you actually see the manoeuvre?
I saw the one on Dave Finnick, I missed the one on Simichich.
Okay, I mean the one on Finnick, fair enough. Yeah, we both saw that, but the one on Simichich was it looked a bit desperate, let's say. I don't think Simichich was too happy, but I don't want to call it too much, obviously, because maybe someone else will see it differently. But to me, I think Gaxella knew that he had to hold him off for the middle sector because he knew how quick Simichich was through that middle sector, and it was like a desperate move to keep him behind. So I wasn't happy with that myself, and I don't think Simichich will be either.
We'll see what the repercussions will be in just a moment as the drivers get ready for the warm-up session. And wait, and also find out who the pole sitter will be, as we'll get the random number drawn between positions 10 and 20. So the good thing about this, like I've said this before, is that every position will now be contested, because it's not just for points. It's about a potential pole position for race 2, which has shaken up this championship so much in the past few rounds or so. And since it's been introduced, I think the general feedback has been very good, and you just never know whose race might get turned on its head and they may start at the front of the field.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last time how it split the field up quite a lot, and it was good fun. race 2 is always good fun, isn't it? It don't matter what happens, it's always good fun. Race 1 was brilliant. That's one of the best races in Formula Challenge I've ever watched, I think, because it was just action-packed all the way through.
Yeah, it really was, and I don't believe you've got any drivers for interview today, so just going to be a chance for them to maybe gather their thoughts, and I'm sure just cool down a bit, because, as you said, very intense race for the most part, and there wasn't a lot of contact overall. I did pick up, there were a few crashes. We saw Tapper spin, we saw Fiddick go off, and a little nudge here and there, but overall, compared to some races, this was fairly light on the attrition rate. I don't think we had that many retirements at all.
Well, it's not really surprising, to be honest, because this track is... I mean, we saw last time out, actually, the attrition rate was pretty low as well, which was good. And that was the Nürburgring, which is quite a difficult track. But this track's not really that difficult, to be honest. It's pretty basic, start, stop, long straight, start, stop, long straight sort of thing. So it's not that, difficult as such from a driver perspective. So, if there was a higher attrition rate today, then I'd be seriously worried about the quality of drivers in the league, to be honest, because we know how good they are. And I don't expect to see many people crashing out at this circuit because it's not the most difficult on the calendar.
No, definitely not. And at this stage in the season as well, it does mean that drivers, they feel comfortable at the circuit, which means they do maybe feel a bit comfortable risking a bit more. They can go outside their comfort zone, maybe go for a few more audacious manoeuvres and see what happens. But, obviously it doesn't end there. We've still got to come in after the American Grand Prix here at Interlagos. We've got a couple more events coming up for you, which is even better because, the season's still not over. There's still a lot to play for. Even if it's not for the championship win, you've still got the constructors battle that's going on. We've got second and third and fourth. They're all still fighting. And from here on out, we head to Abu Dhabi, then to Japan on the 8th of October, and then the season rounds out at the Brazilian Grand Prix on October 22nd. So a very fitting end to the season here. And again, a couple of tracks which could very well throw up some surprise results.
Yep, especially in Formula Challenge, it all seems to go off. I mean, we always have the same guys pretty much up front at the end of the race, and that's Fiddick, got Gaxella, we have Cantona and usually Simonchik. They're usually the guys somewhere near the front. But from, say, P5 onwards, it can be absolutely anyone. I mean, some races we have, say, Ben Warren up there, then the next race it's got Perez for like last week, then it might be Florian Gaia. It's just changing week by week.
It is indeed, so who knows what's going to be thrown up next time, but for now, we've just got 7 minutes for the drivers, as we say, to get themselves back in the zone once again. I believe we've got Scott Beresford, who could be starting on the front row.
Yeah, from what I've seen, the grid's been determined now, but we'll find out fully, obviously. But that could be good for Scott. I mean, he didn't have a good race 1. He wasn't as impressive as he was the week before at Nürburgring. Obviously, we saw him running in the top 6 at most points. So hopefully maybe he can get back on track here. But Cantona's the man we've got to watch out for. If he starts up front, has he got any pace in him to be able to try and take a race win like he did last week? Because he was okay in race 1 at the end. He sort of found some pace as the race went on.
He did indeed. So let's see who going to be the man on pole. As you can see, Lewis McGlade outsetting times at the moment, making the most of the dry circuit. Oh, you never know, could be making the most while it lasts, and then goes back to the pit lane. So the only man to set a time at the moment. I'm sure the other drivers have got little, more variants of ways to spend this little warm down session. We've got Ben Haxon now, I believe, just joined the game for Viking. So we'll see what he can do a bit later on. Maldonado also back in. We've got, what I think will be interesting, as we say, is that midfield battle, because depending on where Fiddick and Simonchik and of course Gaxella start, do you think there'll be a bit of bad during race 2, that these drivers could start giving each other a few love taps at the rear end and maybe just start getting a bit more aggressive with each other? Because it's not the first time, of course, where Gaxella's maybe pushed the line out a bit too far.
Well, the only person who could lose from that, of course, is Gaxella. Because if he gets taken out and, say, Fiddick wins, that's a big dent in the championship for him, and he won't win it. I mean, I'm not quite sure at the point situation at the moment. Obviously, he took quite a lot out of Fiddick last race. Probably need to look at that, actually, because he could possibly wrap this up at this race. For example, what the best thing to probably do, they've got 10 minutes. What they should do is just private message, or have a quick word and say, maybe Gaxella say, I'm sorry for that, I didn't realise you were alongside, or something like that, or Simonchik saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go for that move, or depending on who's at fault. And just try and calm it down between.
Yeah, and also going to become clear during the second race, end of the season as well. And there's not much to do to a few of these drivers back for the field, and we've seen this already here, especially in the Formula Challenge, where you want to prove yourself to the guys in the Super Cup and the Super League. You want to prove that you can get yourself as high as you can. And that means for the guys who get consistent points and maybe not necessarily consistent top 5 runners, but they're going to start taking a few more risks, as we've said. And I think I had a bit of a connection issue there, but
I thought so.
hopefully that. That's okay, my R factor's still okay, so I think I'm still in the game. But I think the most important factor here is that we could see drivers who started in the midfield during race 2 have more of an impact up front, because say now Gaxella tries to cut through the field again, knowing that he may or may not have a penalty coming his way. He wants to get a better position, he wants to get as far as he can through the field to secure this championship. By getting himself through the field, if he's then held up by people in, who are 7th or 8th, guys like Oskari Kanternen, we've got Ben Warren could be a factor in this race. We've got, of course, Mikko Jakkonen. Those sort of guys who get consistent points will be willing to risk a little bit more. They don't want to give up these positions at this stage, showing their own individual fights with other people in the championship. And they're looking forward to next season as well. So I don't think at the moment, if you compare it to 5 races ago, they're not going to simply move out of the way for a faster car.
There's no reason to do that. I was actually working with Lewis McGlade in practice. I think some people saw in the server. I was working with him a bit because he's done me a few favours this week, so I thought I'd try and help him out a little bit, with his driving and his setup and so on. We found something pretty good for him, so hopefully he can have a decent race too. But yeah, people like him, for example, who are further down the field, let's say, that they're looking to improve and they just take any chance they can get to try and show what they can do.
Yeah, indeed they will, as we come towards the end of this little warm-up session now. So we've got ourselves 3 minutes and 28 seconds to go, as we're just trying to sort out the grid for next time and see who's going to start where. A lot of drivers starting to set times now. Chris Butcher leading the charge, the only man on a 1:19 at the moment. We've got Stegink there on a 1:20.6, Martin Palm a 1:20.8, and then the rest of the drivers on a 1:21 to a 1:23, 10 total time. So the track's still a little bit quiet with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's like you say, I mean, if you're Gaxella or if you feel it, you're pretty much sorted out for race 2, you don't need to go out and do anything, you know what your car's doing, so just chill out for 10 minutes. If you're the guys at the back, as we said last time, it's an opportunity to try and find a few more tenths, maybe trying something on the setup, so you get out on track and you run the laps. But if you're leading the championship at this stage of the season, you pretty much know what your car's doing, you know that you can't really find much more lap time.
So 2 minutes 22 seconds left as the drivers just now start to prepare themselves. I'm a bit worried as to why my connection keeps doing that now. It's a little bit worrying, but as we come towards the end of the session and a couple more drivers starting to venture out onto the circuit now. One of those, in fact, being James Wilson, who didn't exactly have the greatest start in the world last time. He was lapped a few times. I think he was 4 or 5 laps down in the end, unfortunately. But we'll see what he can do here. Of course, second race is a second chance to maybe improve.
I was watching Chris Butcher, who's currently P1 in this session. Did he race in the first race? I don't recall seeing his name. But if he did, we may have to watch out for him in race 2, depending on where he starts, because I'm just watching him on board now. He's really hooked this car up well in this second session. It runs a bit wide there, but he's on a 19.9 currently, which is fastest in the session. Now, if you remember from last race, high 19s seemed to be the pace. Towards the end, it was low 19s. But most of the race it was mid to high 19s, obviously battle induced as well. But look, he's really hooked this car up pretty well on this run, so it'll be interested to see what he can do in race 2.
Yeah, it will indeed. And another factor that we do have to account for, of course, today is the number of cars. And in Indianapolis first corner, we've seen a couple of cars make a mistake there today. But thankfully, the actual only start problem we saw was at the very, very start of the line. We didn't actually see, from what I recall, an incident at turn 1, which I was honestly quite surprised at. I thought if there was going to be an incident, it's a very tricky first corner to get around. So that will be the corner where the majority of cars maybe run a bit wide or run into each other. So fingers crossed that trend continues into race 2, because I was quite surprised at that. Everyone navigated their way through cleanly and there was a lot of racing respect between one another.
Yep, I mean, obviously every now and again you get a bit of accidental contact. It doesn't mean a lack of respect always, it just means you've made a mistake or something. But in turn 1, we've seen now for the last few races, it's been a lot better. It's been much better. I mean, at the beginning of the season there were people that even left the league because of it, because of turn 1 accidents and so on, and they couldn't even get past turn 1 because of other people's mistakes. But now it's much better. I mean, we're really seeing the quality of the drivers come through as the season goes on. And also, one of the key things is when you race with a group of cars and drivers, you get to know them eventually. You get to know what they do, whatever your driver's like. So it's, for the first few races, it's going to be a learning process for everybody. So halfway through the season,
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
you'd have expected that they've learned how to work with each other, get through turn 1 safely.
Yeah, very true indeed, and also you've got to know who your rivals will be, who you're trying to fight for in terms of Constructors and both the Drivers' Championship. And it's going to be Fran Lopez that starts on the pole position, Scott Beresford in P2, Ben Warren, we said he could be a factor, starts P3, Mikko Yakin, another name I mentioned, starts P4, the smarty car of Hansco Mebius in 5th, Chris Butcher, good chance for him now in P6, Matt Richards in 7th, Brewster and Jacobs, both United cars, in P8 and 9, with Paul Joseph rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, then we've got Oscar Cantone in 11th, Martin Palm, Dewey Tapper, Aaron Nyman, Florian Geyer, Adrian Norberton, David Fiddick starts 17th, James Johnson, Skiminchik starts 19th and Gaxella 20th.
And then running through down the field as the cars make their way through turn number 1 and 2 and snake their way through. 21st was Sven de Vries, 22nd Chris Williamson, 23rd was Lewis McGlade, and start from there, 24th is Franklin Stigig, sorry my time a bit there. 25th is Theo van der Brink, we've got Javier de Carvalho 25th place, 26th place is going to be Mike Bell, 27th Simon Smith, 28th James Kirk, so both backmarker brigades starting close together. ZRW Racing of James Wilson starting from the pit lane, interestingly enough. Arcadius Bretes in P30, Maldonado 31st, Ron Squire starts behind his teammate in 32nd with Scott Cervic and Jonathan Ockercliffe, both Optimum cars in 33rd and 34th, with Mike Schroten in the Waters Automotive team starting in 35th, with last place man Ben Haxon in 36th place after he makes his way through all the admins and broadcast team.
Yeah, well, everyone's just moved up a position because unfortunately Simonchik's left the game. So we've lost one of our key runners.
So, and of course he won't be able to rejoin because the session locked, so if that was an internet issue, there's no possible way he'll be able to rejoin.
Yeah, Simonchik's out, which is a shame, because he was one of the guys who was battling up front, so, I mean, it's still going to be an entertaining race, of course, but to lose one of the key contenders is never a good thing.
No, definitely not, but this does leave it wide open and for Gagzella, the man who was battling the majority of the race with last time round. He now has been removed out of the equation, so it's just down to getting his way through the field and hopefully not encountering Dave Fiddick, who will surely be on a warpath from 17th position on the grid.
Yeah, Theo van den Brink has had an off on the formation lap, somehow he's lost his front wing and he's at the back of the pack. Quickly before the race starts, Liam, who's your bet on for this race then?
I want to say Ben Warren, in all honesty. I would love to see Ben take a victory for Semic. He starts in P3. He's got Scott Beresford, who he knows quick, and Fran Lopez in front. I reckon if he can get himself to the front of the field and pull away, I don't see a reason why Semic can't come to the P1 spot at the end.
Well, I'm going to go with your bet last week, and that's Dewey Tapper, starting 13th. Let's see what he can do.
So the wagers have been placed as the cars line up on their grid spots for the second 18-lap race of the night. Let's see how they'll fare as they approach Indianapolis again. The skies are a bit grey, but no rain, so another dry race, which is exactly what all these drivers hoped for. And now we await the arrival of those 5 red lights again. Now we've got 3. The engine starts to rise. The launch control's getting ready to go. And a very slow start. Everyone's had a galactic start. He's actually overtaken into P2. And poor old pole sitter there for Fran Lopez down to P7. He's been 4th. He's down to 10th now. He hasn't even hit turn 1 yet. And he's halfway down the order as the cars make their way through turn 1 and 2. A bit of a scrap going on at the front. But Ben Warren's in the lead. He's been in there. He's down to P3. And it's already changed a lot. Matt Richards second. Beresford is in the lead in the race. A lot of positions swapping around the field right now. Adrian Knowlton 14th. Gagzella was right behind Fiddick there in P19. Fiddick moves up to P17 as the cars go over 4 wide there. And a very tricky corner to try and accomplish that feat. Gagzella just trying to watch it and snake his way through without contact. Fiddick, however, is on a warpath, as we said. He's now got himself up in towards P14.
Yeah, midfield madness, 4 wide at some point through the corners. Gagzella getting bashed about, Fiddick getting bashed about. They're both trying to make progress as fast as they can. Off the track there, that's Florian Geyer, and that's Fiddick going around the outside of the 14. Can't quite make the move. But yeah, madness in the mid-pack.
Yeah, it really was back at the front of the field. It is Beresford that leads. You've got Matt Richards, so all over the back of him in P2. Ben Warren watching from third. He's got very close company there of Hansco Mebius and Mikko Yakkinen. Now Yakkinen trying to go round the outside, almost 3 wide there as Lee's picked Dewey Tapper trying to get involved. He's up to P5. Oh, and a very slick move there. He's going to realise that his teammate is going to try and take each other out. They're going to think this through. Up to P4 goes Tapper, and surely Nico's going to let him go. He wants to go at the middle, but no, he's just going to try and use him as a block round the outside. And oh, and a big contact, and they're both off. Miko Yakin and Ambibius both resort to the outside of the track. So no contact with anyone else.
Fiddick's off as well. Another disaster for Fiddick has been taken out. Did Gattella get taken as well, or did Gattella get through? Gattella did get through.
Gattella got through, yeah.
Fiddick's off, that's the championship over surely. Fiddick is down to 30th position.
Can't really expect much from him now, and if Gattella can just finish, he's pretty much sealed the deal. Although he is in a bit of a scrap at the moment, he's got cars left, right and centre, one of them being a Smarty car piloted by Sven de Vries at the moment. Now he's got a car in the very foreground now, I think he's just rejoined again. Florian Gaia trying to attack James Johnson there from behind Gattella, and that's the P12. James Johnson through the inside of the next corner, nice move there, and is, well, Florian Gaia's scratching his head after that one, a very nice cutback. We've got one of the United racers, I believe, was off there. I think that might have been Tom Jacobs. Yeah, it was Fran Lopez now all over him. The pole sitter is down to P7. He recovered quite well after a dreadful start, to say the least. He went down to 11th place. Back up to P7 and in the slipstream of the United Racers driver.
Yeah, Fiddick's been off again. Fiddick's down in 32nd position now. And he's way behind the leaders. That's Simon Smith off with no rear wing. I also noticed Cantonin had no rear wing as well. He's actually still racing around in 20th position with no rear wing. So he's still giving it a go. But,
battle for P2 there, and that's Ben Warren trying to go side by side with Beresford. Look at Tapper there, attacking Ben Warren. And Warren's trying to get the inside line for the next corner. It's not going to happen. And that's surely all but over. Tapper has got himself. He's now in the P2. He's not done yet. He's got Beresford holding on with just about enough. Matt Richards will not be liking the view. It's a ferocious pack of three cars and three drivers you do not want behind you when you're in the lead of a race. Tapper opens up to the inside. Try and overtake Beresford. Let's see if he can make it stick. Very nice move there. Yeah, Beresford lets up. There's not much he can go through there. And Dewey Tapper goes into second. So Lee's prediction may come very true soon.
I've got my fingers crossed on this 50p here because he's about to take the lead. I think when Matt Richards down his main straight, he's got superior straight line speed to seem everyone in this race at the moment. He's just breezing past them. Let's see now. He's in the slipstream with Matt Richards. Richards got a good run off that corner though. But Tapper's closing up slowly but surely. Will he get a run before we get to turn 1? Yeah, easily. Look at this. He's going to pass him before the start-finish line at this rate. So Dewey Tapper looking exceptionally strong. I think I've looked into this one, to be honest, Liam. So you might be a few pounds short after this race. Tapper goes for the race lead and takes it.
He does indeed. And look at Richards trying to come back now. He can't quite get enough momentum. And Tapper, well, there's no fight at all. Is there not much you can do except try and pray you can get it round through? Probably the middle sector will be the best bet where Tapper can't utilise that straight line speed. He goes a bit wide through there. Richards almost had a cheeky look. He's got Beresford still trying to defend at the moment off of Ben Warren, and now Ari Neiman is joining the party.
Yeah, Lopez and Jacobs side by side as well. Lopez trying to make the most of this on the outside, but Jacobs has got the position for 6th, has he? Yes, he should just be able to hold this. So last time podium, Jacobs up to 6th position now. Oh no, but no he's not, because Lopez has just launched it back on the inside, so great move from Lopez there, take it back. And someone's off there, that's one of the back markers, I believe.
We'll try and identify that for you as soon as we can. It's not who I thought it was, but he's got himself going again. We've got Ben Haxton, he's moved himself up to 36, so still in the race there, just behind is Mike Bell. I'm sure that's going to be lapping in there. Yeah, the Viking racing car moves out of the way. And again, it's a very tricky scenario for these lap cars. And you said it's going to be an issue. I think race 2 is going to be even more of a prominent problem because of the twisty nature of the circuit. Until you get to that straight, it's very difficult for these lap cars to move out of the way if you've got two cars battling. Yeah,
Gattella and obviously Gattella finding it difficult to get through the field. Fiddick even more so, obviously being way down the positions at the moment. But Gattella, we're used to seeing in race 2 storm through and lead the race after a few laps. Not this time. He's really struggled to make an impression on this race. As we go 4 wide into turn 1, it's for Fries, Jacobs, and that's Lopez who takes position to Fries trying to come back on the outside. Jacobs and Gaia trying to make something out and Palm now. So look at this battle for 4th. It's ridiculous. 5th, sorry.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit crazy back there, I think, to say the least right now. As I was taking a look at the Dave Fiddick pushing on past Carvalho, but back at this battle, look at this! A battle for 5th. This is a race of its own right now. We've got Neville, Fran Lopez doing everything he can to pass Sven de Vries. There's an absolute gaggle of cars behind. Gagdella's there as well at the back. Martin Park's in there. McNaughton's trying to catch it, but just look at them swarm. Tom Jenkins trying to get around the inside there. Florian Gaia, who's fighting with Guy around the outside. He'll have the inside line for the next corner. Very sneakily played there. Cheeky little move. Gets himself into 8th position. But this isn't a battle for 5th. This is a battle for the remaining point positions, don't they?
Yeah, Lopez makes a mistake there, so they're all going to close up here, and Gattella's got to run on Jacobs and gets past Gatella up to 10th position. There's also a battle like this for 2nd position as well between Beresford, Richards, Warren and Nyman. Warren's going to get a double turn down the main straight now. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. We'll have to watch this. We've got Beresford on the inside, we've got Richards in the middle and Warren on the outside. Who's going to come off worse in this one? I say worse because there's bound to be contact somewhere. And no, they keep it pretty tidy. Slight bit of contact between Beresford.
That's a big move there from Warren.
Yeah, he barged through there. That was very good driving. I think Richards got out that one more than Warren's move, but they did well to avoid contact and spins there. But again, a 5-way scrap for 2nd position. And this, and Gattella's going to the inside of Lopez and they made contact.
And luckily, I think they just come out unscathed. As you can see, Florian Guy fancies chances. Big lock up there, and off goes Adrian McNaughton. And he's able to get the car going, and there goes one of the backmarker brigades, I think. And that may have been, I think it was a lockdown. Oh no, he's made contact again!
Paul
I think that was
Joseph.
one of the Royal Blue cars. It was Paul Joseph.
Yeah, Paul Joseph flying through the air there. Some Honda cars on the side of the track gets out to 9th position, but he's still in dangerous times because Lopez is very aggressive on the braking. He just doesn't care. And Gaia's got back through on Gatella now. Gatella will go up the inside into the final corner, I guess. Yes, he does. And they make a slight bit of contact there, and Gatella nearly loses the back end. This is going to give Jacobs a run on both of them, so watch out for Jacobs here and Butcher just on the back of him. So Gatella is struggling to get through this field, he really is.
Let's see what he can produce through here. Then now surely he's going to be extremely vulnerable, and the only thing that can save him is going to be the straight line speed of that Storm machine. But look at him now, he's gone from defensive to offensive. He's opened up a move there on Fran Lopez to the inside. Florian Guy wants a bit of the action as well. We've got the United Races car back as well, and look at that, it's all gone very hickledy-pickledy back there. Florian Guy somehow barely holding on to P11. Tom Jacobs wants a little bit of the action. James Johnson not too far away at all, but Chris Butcher benefited greatly from there. Gets himself up into the top 10.
Yeah, something happened to James Johnson. I didn't quite see what happened, but he lost about 3 or 4 seconds there for some reason. So obviously he got caught out with this battling, but there's still a massive battle for 2nd position. Warren's currently there. Tapper's now 5 seconds in the lead, so he's got this one signed, sealed and delivered as long as he can bring it home safely. Warren and Scott Beresford do. I did say watch out for race 2 as well, because I think he was out of position in race 1 slightly. Nyman up to 4th doing a good job along with Matt Richards, just hanging on to these in 5th, so a good job there. But the 3, in fact, this is going to be a 10-car battle for 2nd place soon, because the big group that was behind is now caught up.
This is just phenomenal stuff. You just got to look, Sven de Vries is barely trying to bring the train with him as well. We've got a couple of cars who are behind Sven de Vries, and there's a little bit of a silence before the storm, and then comes the roaring pack, headed up at the moment by Fran Lopez. And look at this, they're all trying to get a run on him. It's like something you see in a reverse IndyCar race right now.
Chris
They're
Butcher.
trying to go 3 wide.
Chris Butcher's going to take over.
Lopez defends in the middle. He
Chris
moves
Butcher.
over. He's got nothing, is he? He's had to surrender already. Butcher and Guy go through. Lopez trying to go. Oh, he's got it all wrong. And almost outbrakes himself there as Florian Guy gets the best of Chris Butcher. And now Lopez wants to try and come back, but I don't quite think he's got enough. And that quartet stay battling a bit longer. Oh no, he's got it all wrong.
Yeah, Lopez way too aggressive. Lopez that's been coming for a few laps now. Lopez just way too aggressive there. Chris Butcher taken out unfairly totally there. Chris Butcher, I did say watch out for race 2. He was looking good in the wall and he was trying to make his way through, and Lopez was just way too aggressive on the braking there.
It really was, and unfortunately for poor Chris Butcher, he got on the wrong side at the wrong time. A bit further up the field then, let's just take a look at the battle which is now developing for P5. I say P5, what I mean is P2. We've got a lot of cars in the battle right now. Ben Warren is heading up kind of the Warren warpath at the moment. We've got Scott Beresford there as well. We've seen him before. Still trying to attack Harry Neiman and Matt Richards. Then Sven de Vries, and closer is coming Gagzella and Palm. Gagzella set the fastest lap last time round. And this train is only going to get stronger as race goes on. And we almost hit halfway.
Yeah, if this carries on closing up as it is at the moment, you're going to have a 7-car scrap for 2nd place, which is going to be pretty awesome. Coming into turn 1, Beresford trying to do something about Warren, who's holding up the train at the moment. Warren, I suspect, yes, he is very good under braking. That's why he's holding these guys off. He's actually holding them up quite a lot. but he's doing a good job of holding them off as very few gets around the corner. But look at Warren putting his car in all the right places. He just cannot get past him, and there's very little opportunity to pass in this middle sector. And they just close up every time that happens. So it's now nearly a 7-car scrap for second position.
Is indeed, and you do not want to turn away, do you? You just never know what's going to happen next. It's almost scary. You just got a feeling of inevitable contact.
Yeah, you were right. Richards launching up the inside there of Nyman with slight contact, and that's giving De Vries the run on Richards now, who was trying to take advantage of this. Nyman is trying to go for third position, doesn't quite work out, and off goes Beresford. Beresford goes off, locked the rear diff there, unfortunately, in the break, and he will continue. He'll have a little bit of damage. He's in 7th position, so he's still there, just about.
Martin Palm wants to take that from him, though, up the inside. Big move, and almost got it wrong. But both cars hold on for a bit longer now. Richards on the back of the breeze once again, looking for that momentum change as they come back onto the straight. We've only done, well, about literally half race distance now. And interestingly enough, they're not losing a great amount of time to the leader. We've literally just done half race distance. And Ben Warren's only 7 seconds away as Neiman goes to the inside there. This is it, the battle for P2 resumes. Battle for P3 also behind. We'll try and keep an eye on both. Warren on the outside, another podium here today. And he has to kind of surrender that one, I think. For now, we've got the breeze behind. Richards has gone wide, and Gagzella is creeping up the back stairs at a rather frantic bit of pace as well.
Yeah, one person I've got to put a call out to, and that's Cantoni in 14th position. He's actually racing with no rear wing, and he's only lapping the set. Oh, who's that's out? Reeds is out for some reason. I'm not quite sure why that's happened. Reeds is out, but yeah, Cantoni in 14th position. He's racing with no rear wing. He's actually lapping quicker than most of the cars in front of him. So a big shout out to him there.
Yeah, very big one indeed, and we'll see if he can bring the car home because it looks like he's racing a Formula Ford at the moment. We'll see what he can do as the race does come to an end, and you can see him there just trying to bring the car home. He's got himself Adrian McNaughton behind him, who's going to be a little bit wary, I think, before overtaking. And we have lost James Kirk. I never realised that. James Kirk in the backmaster brigade is out, and is our first retirement before Reitz, who was more recent of the two drivers. But that all attention is on that main pack for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, all the way down to possibly what could be at this rate about 20th position.
Well, he only passed him 4 laps ago, but Tapper has pulled out an 8-second gap. But Warren and De Vries side by side. This started with Warren locking his brakes into the hairpin. De Vries got past him. Warren's now trying to come back on the outside. I suspect De Vries will brake later. He does and takes the position. So good move there from De Vries. Good solid position. I don't think Warren can respond to that. I don't think he's got the pace, to be honest, but we'll see. He's going to have a look at the inside. No, he thinks better of it. And De Vries has got the position now, so I think Warren has got to look at his nose now at Richards and Gactello especially.
Indeed he does, and let's just try and wait and see again who's going to be the next man to chance the manoeuvre. It really is literally a case of the survival of the fittest right now. So many drivers try and move, so many of them not paying off. Let's just try and wait and see who's going to be the most successful of them. Right now, Tapper is just loving life. He's pulled out a further couple of seconds. 8 seconds now back to Ari Niemanen, who still can't quite shake off Sven De Vries, who's now past Ben Warren. We got Wilson moving off the track there. It's Gagzella now targets the Simic, who is not Dave Fiddick. That is Ben Warren in P4. So Gagzella looking to still take another podium today.
Yeah, it's still that same train of cars. They're slightly more split up now as Gaia's got a run on Palm for 7th position. Suspect he will take that position because he was quicker early on after getting bars out the way, but Gagzella now has got a free run at Warren in 4th position. Now Warren, don't forget, is the teammate of championship protagonist Fiddick, who's having a disastrous race in 15th position, battling with McNaughton. So the two championship protagonist teams are together.
Indeed, and this could be massive in terms of the Constructors' Championship, because the interesting thing is McNaughton isn't quite near the points yet. He's in 15. Oh, he's up, just as I've said that. He's lost the front left tyre of the car, and that has gone horrifically wrong for the British driver. He's out of the race, so it really is just down to Warren and Gagzella now then. It's a case of can Warren beat Storm and get some big Constructors points. He's got about 40% of the race left, 7 laps. And Gagzella wants those points, not just himself, but for the team.
Yeah, that was... it was McNaughton and Fiddick, yeah, they were side by side. I was watching the replay, and McNaughton slightly comes across into Fiddick, and he just turns his car on the main straight, so slightly naughty driving there by McNaughton.
Yeah, and right now Gagzella's passed. Ben Warren tries to come back on the inside. Great fight by Warren, but Gagzella's going to have to drive. And watch out for Matt Richards as well. He's trying to get a jump on both of these cars. Warren just needs to get in the slipstream. He's done so. And now he's just got to really try and hope for the best so that he can stay there and not let Gagzella slip away with that unrelenting top pace. Warren already chancing the inside, he doesn't want to risk it. Matt Richards is there trying to get ready for the counter-attack just in case the opportunity arises. They're 3 wide into the first corner, here we go. Placing best, who's going to come on top with this one. Gagzella's round the outside. Warren defending on the middle, he's got to be careful. I think he's backed out of it, yes he has. Now goes to the outside and he's unfortunately lost even more ground. And he slips down to P6. Up to P4 though, impressively, is Matt Richards.
Yeah, Richards taking 2 cars in one manoeuvre there, very impressive manoeuvre. Just kept his head in the turn 1 and outbrake both of them, so great driving from Richards, very impressive. And he's battling with the championship leaders. Gagzella again locking his brakes and making contact. He's got to be careful as Gagzella is going to lunge on the inside, and now he makes contact slightly, a little bit of a scruffy move there, but he's through. Will Richards responded to the next corner, he's got the run off the corner. I think Gagzella's safe now in 4th position, but Warren, and that's Gaia coming in instead of Warren, so we've got a 4-way scrap for 5th position.
And his race just shows no sign of letting up, does it? I mean, we've seen just about everything there is to see, and it still keeps surprising us. And looking for it again, now Gaia gets himself through, and Ben Warren is down to P7. And you've got to think, a couple of laps ago, he was challenging for P2. Now he's barely challenging for a top 5. He's down to 7th, and that is just the beauty of the Formula Challenge. It's either a blessing or a curse when you're in this situation. For Matt Richards, it's a blessing, but for how long though? Because I think Florian Guy fancies his chances. Ben Warren wants to come back at him as well. Richards pushing him to the very outside. That allows Warren to come through on the inside line into turn 1 once again now.
Look at the back marker, look at the back marker.
There's traffic there, it's all gone wrong. And Matt Richards somehow comes out in front without a front wing.
Yeah, that was what was going to happen. There were 3 wide and one of the cars there was going to have to get out of it, otherwise there was going to be contact because the back marker had nowhere to go whatsoever. And that's worked out worse for Richards, but he should still be able to get some points, I think, with a lack of front wing, because it's not that much of a handicap, I don't think. I mean, look at Cantone in the 11th position with no rear wing.
Through, Florian Guy fancies his chances, and it's now become, instead of a 4-car train, more of a 4-car cluster as Richards moves out of the way. And watch how many cars are going to try and pass him into this next corner. Martin Palm thinks about it. Guy wants to go for it, and he's got to be careful. Because Richards still won't give up that easily, though. He doesn't have to, of course. And
yeah,
all bit of a nudge there for Palm.
If he can stick with Guy just through these corners, watch him on the straights because he'll have ridiculous top-end speed. Cantonen I've been watching as well. In fact, Cantonen in 11th position has still got a chance of a 4th position, or say a 5th position because Gagzella's gone now. But keep an eye on Cantonen in 11th position with no rear wing. He's actually in the back of this pack we've been watching as Richards decides to complete pits. I think I'd have stayed out myself.
Yeah, you've only got a couple of laps to go, haven't you? About 4 to be exact as they come across the start-finish line. Gagzella with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:19.828. He continues his charge to try and get some big points here today. He's 12 seconds off the lead and about 2 seconds exactly off Sven de Vries right now, so it's definitely still time for him to catch the Smarty WCS car. Kayana racing there of Ari Newman. How long has it been since Ari Newman has got himself into a position as good as this? It's great to see him back at the top again.
Yeah, last year he was up there quite regular, wasn't he? This year we haven't seen much of him, so yeah, good to see some old faces up front, let's say. I say old faces, they're still pretty young, but de Vries doing a good job in 3rd position. But yeah, Richards there, I'm not quite sure why he pitted. I mean, where did he come out? So he's come out in 20th position. I'm sure, in fact I'm positive he would have been higher up than that had he stayed out to the end of the race, so strange decision there, but that's his race to judge. Fiddick's up to 12th position, by the way, and just on the back of this big train of cars for 5th position, so he can still get some good points today. So what we need to try and work out if Gagzella can win this championship in this race, because there's only 4 laps to go now.
Well, he's got to, surely. I mean, Fiddick's going to score points, but he was 150 in front, I believe, at the start of this race. I can't see it not being won here today, unless those penalties decide otherwise, or if there even are penalties on race 1 and they affect his points. I think honestly it will just be a 5-race grid drop for next race or something like that, and at this point it will be
look at Cantonen, sorry, look at Cantonen in 9th position. He's just past Jacobs with no rear wing. Jacobs were like, what the, and then Cantonen's just got ridiculous straight line speed. He's now going to pass Beresford on the outside. That puts him into 8th position. Will he do it? Beresford no fights back on the inside, but Cantonen will have the outside line. Oh, Beresford launches back on the inside. But this is brilliant driving from Cantonen. It really is.
Well, you can't knock him for trying at all, can you? He's doing everything he can, and what a nightmare that car would be to handle as well, as it's, wow, you can just see him trying to snap out every corner. He's got great control underneath him. as he tries to once again catch the man in front and, well, more importantly, avoid the train of cars behind. Fiddick's only in P12 to get even more points than Simic, but still Beresford right now needs to try and get back in front.
Yeah, apparently Gaxella's taken third as well after freeze, and that's true. Gaxella now into third position. We didn't see that. Well, you might have seen it, but we didn't as commentators. We were watching the gaggle of cars behind. But Gaxella into an important third position. That very well could seal in the championship. We need to look this up. So if someone out there could work out the points and tell us if Gaxella will be the champion today, because I'm not too sure on that one, to be honest.
I think unless somehow Fiddick can get through this next train of cars and get himself in a top 6, top 7, then I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a championship for Gaxella today. We'll have to wait and see though. Fiddick's going under pressure again, and this time from Chris Butcher. We've got Tom Jacobs pulling alongside as well. Fiddick defends on the inside of turn 1, and Dave Fiddick hasn't had the best of Indianapolis today, is he? We think maybe he'd be up there in the front, top 3s, top 5s, but he just hasn't had the time. And there goes Ben Warren, who since being, starting in Q3 here today, now the Simic driver's inseparable once again, finds himself in P9.
Antona's just gone there outside of the farm with no rear wing. I seriously kudos to Australia Cantona today. His race 1 was disappointing, but his race 2, I mean, a lot of people with no rear wing have just gone to the pits and given up, but he's just carried on, and he's actually in 6th position now. I just cannot believe what he's done with no rear wing. Maybe it's an advantage. Look at his lap time, actually, because he's actually lapping similar to the leaders, let's say. He's lapping faster than our race leader, so maybe we should take the rear wing off the cars, something like that. Maybe that's an advantage he's found.
Well, I mean, with the current pack at the moment, I don't think it'll be too long before another driver becomes a guinea pig. As Dave Fiddick tries to go at the inside of Scott Beresfield, that's P8 for him, so he's still fighting. He's going down, swinging by the looks of things. He wants to come out again. Attack Martin Palm. Beresfield's still there. They're waiting to come down the straight again. And we begin what could be the final lap of the race as Beresford on the inside. And look at the pack of 3. You've got 6 cars fighting there. Fiddick on the outside. I don't think he's got enough momentum. Oh, he sweeps it in nicely. He doesn't now break himself. Textbook stuff there from the Simic driver. And now Beresford managing to go at Martin Palm. And he's got that done as well. Michael Clapton Butcher. 3 cars in 1 corner, 4 cars in 2 corners. And that is not some sort of weird film, but this right now for Martin Palm has not been a pleasant experience.
Yeah, Ben Warren as well, down in 13th position, 12th position, 13th. It's not been a great race, second race for him. Although he's now made his way back to that, passing Palm and his contact there. It's just madness on this midfield, isn't it? Tapper's coming around the final corner now.
So, through it all then, and escaping through what has been a very, very intense race for a lot of these drivers today, Lee Morris has made a correct pick. Dewey Tapper is going to come across the start-finish line in just a moment's time to collect another victory in the GPVWC Formula Challenge. And what does the future hold for this young man? A great victory there from Tapper and the Tanscana Racing Team.
Yep, Nyman is about to come across in 2nd position and does so. Great result for him. And Gaxella, we think, may have just sealed the championship. We're not going to call it just yet. It'd be a shame if we don't get to call it, but I think possibly may have just sealed the championship. In 3rd position, great drive. Gaia takes 4th to freeze, and Cantona does take 6th position with no rear wing. Fiddick takes 7th, and that's Butcher in 8th. Great result for him. I did see him warm up, he was pretty quick, and he's done a great second race for 8th position. Could have been higher, I think, without the people taking him out. James Johnson 9th, and Scott Beresford takes 10th position.
He does 11th there for Ben Warren, 9th little recovery, unfortunately, at the end. 12th place for Tom Jacobs, Martin Palm 13th, Joseph 14th, 15th, Fran Lopez, our pole sitter. 16th, Matt Richards as he crosses the line. Mike Bell 17th, 18th, Chris Williamson, 19th, the man who's stepping in for Wupke Herkshaw, Jonathan Ockegren. There's an engine problem there for one of the lap cars. We've got Stegging 20th, Mike Schroten in 21st, and Javier de Carvalho rounding out P22 with Brewster in 23rd. But overall, I mean, is there a particular driver that stood out for you this weekend?
Well, I think in race 1, Tapper was pretty competitive as well. He was up in the podium positions just about. And race 2, obviously, he's just pretty much dominated it. I mean, obviously, circumstances prevailed to give him that. I think the 2 championship leaders have both had scruffy races. Fiddick and Gaxella have both had scruffy races, so they haven't really impressed that much. For race 2, it's got to be Cantona with no rear wing, getting 6th position. But overall, I'd say probably Tapper.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree that Tapper's done a very solid performance here today, and it's not the first time he's performed to this level. He's a driver that consistently performs, and it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him perhaps in a Super Cup drive next season, or at least challenging for maybe a Formula Challenge title, as he pulls out very conveniently in front of Gagzella there. But I'll tell you what, I expect big things from this young man. He's done a very impressive job there today. But you've got to wonder, would this race have been any different if Zerno Simoncic was in?
Possibly, but we saw even Cantone and Gagzella and Fiddick couldn't get through the field, so who knows? But it was a shame we didn't see him fight through the field, because he's very aggressive and a good racer, as we know. But also a shout out to Nyman, obviously second position. That's his first podium since the A1 ring apparently, which was many months ago, about 6 or 7 months ago now. So good job from him. One thing I will say, Liam, is I will accept payment. As long as it's legal currency. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and I believe the A1 ring was one of the, well, I think it's one of the first tracks we visited in this calendar, actually. It's been quite a while since we were there, and you've got to feel for Neiman. His championship could have been very different here today. We knew what he was capable of all along, but it just wasn't to be this season. I think maybe give it a year or two, or maybe even next season, and he could be back in contention again. But unfortunately for him, his season has turned out to be a little bit of a disappointment, and it's just great to see him back at the top again.
Yeah, I mean, he was with, I think it was Torrent Motorsports, wasn't it, last year, or the year before, and he was always on the podium. I think it was with, his teammate was Jim Parisis, so he was always up there getting the feedback of Parisis, but you see now, as soon as he loses Parisis' top drive, maybe he's not getting the same setups or something like that, because he's not as far up the field on the pace, so perhaps losing Jim as his teammate has hurt him slightly as well.
As indeed, I don't think we've actually got any drivers for interview today, which is a little bit quiet down there.
Yep, that's a good thing, because I can't pronounce anyone's names in this league, so...
Okay, I think we'll just quickly, before we sign off then, just a quick preview of maybe what to expect from the Super League then, because that comes obviously in a few days, and what are your chances there then? What are you thinking of the circuit so far in terms of practice? Have things been going well for the team?
Well, without making it the Lee Morris show, we started testing today. I did a few laps and straight away on the pace. As I said earlier, the track's pretty easy to hook up, which is why I think we saw quite a clean racing between the field and close racing. The track's pretty easy to hook up, hoping for an engine upgrade for Thursday, which should let us, it's put some equality into the racing, let's say. But usual aim, just a podium. But main thing, just trying to enjoy the racing like we've enjoyed tonight in Formula Challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the Super Cup broadcast comes tomorrow with the Super League the day after, so you don't want to miss that one. But from today, from myself and Lee Morris, the next time you can hear us both in the commentary booth together will be in 2 weeks' time as we return for another edition of the GPVWC Formula Challenge. It'll be around 16 of 18, so we're almost at the end, almost at the climax, and what a season it's been. But you can join us live from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the As Marina circuit in just 2 weeks' time. So see you later, guys. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast.